In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing episode 9 of 1883 titled Racing Clouds. Now, this episode was really interesting, and as this season progresses, the episodes are getting better, and this was one of those episodes. Now, as you remember when the show started, episode 1, we got a glimpse of Elsa in a field fighting Indians. Well, quick forward now to now, this is the episode we find out what actually happened. And the all lead up to it is really interesting. As I'm watching this, the first maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds, I'm like, okay, she's narrating again. I don't mind the narration, but it's very constant. But if we tone down the narration a little bit and just go on for maybe a few scenes without anything happening, then it's fine. So as the immigrants and the group are going, there's a rattlesnake which bites a horse. Yosef, the leader of these immigrants' wife, is thrown back off the horse, and as he's going down to help his wife, he gets bit by a rattlesnake in his thigh or shin in that area, or his calf. And from then on, it's really interesting, so to speak, because then we find out a group of Indians, the Lakota, women and children, are raped and killed, and we see Shay, James, and Thomas have to go after these guys in order to stop, because as they're going around looking, their tracks are being formed around, and they think that they're the only ones out there right now who are on this journey, that the Lakota are going to blame them. So basically what happens is that Thomas, Shay, and James go out to find these so-called rapists and thieves, and they go out on their own, and then the whole immigrants stand back. And then the stupid wagon cook, the cook, comes in and says, if you want to go, we go now because of this and that, whatever. So fast forward, we find that James, Shay, and Thomas do meet up with these so-called bandits. And these bandits are deputies. And, they said that they were tired of doing, certain things because their cattle was being stolen, and what the women and children got, they deserved. Excuse me? Okay. So basically Thomas is the first one to shoot, takes out his pistol, shoots one of them, and then, James and Shay join in and they shoot everyone, and it's crazy. It's insane. And then the Lakota men come back to their home and they find out what happened. So they go after, who do you think? The immigrants. All of a sudden, this whole hell breaks loose. Everything's happening one way or another. It's insane. Firing this and that. And then Elsa, tries to deter them out of the way. This is where we find out what happened to her in the very first opening scenes of this series, where the wagon was on fire. She was on the ground. She got shot with an arrow. And all of a sudden, the whole thing happens again. Because it took 8 episodes to find out what happened up until this point. And this is the point that it all happened. She shoots one, and all of a sudden, as another, I guess evidently, head Lakota Indian is coming to her, she speaks, and all of a sudden it's in the Comanche words that her husband now, or so-called husband, Sam, taught her. They all stop, and they look like, where'd you learn those words? It's like, my husband. It's like, what are you talking about, your husband? He's Comanche. And then she says what her name is in Comanche, this and that, and they let her go. But she has this arrow stuck right through her, through the back. It's insane. It's crazy. So as she goes back and she narrates whatever happened to her, as usual, she's always narrating this entire show and season. She goes and then she meets up with her mother and the 2 other men who are part of the group. And it's interesting because they take the arrow out of her and they cauterize it. And then as that's happening, James, Shay, and Thomas meet up with the Lakotas all of a sudden, and James wants to know what happened. So the head Lakota Indian tells him that certain things happened, this and that, and, it's just, James just wants to know if his daughter's fine. Yeah, but, so he goes back, the Lakota let them go, and then after all of that's happening, he goes back and finds that, he's there, he's talking to his daughter, and he knows his daughter's going to die, because if it's an infection, it's the fever, you're going to die unless you don't get to the fort. That's all they were doing. They wanted to get to the fort, but with all that was happening, they couldn't make it to the fort. So him and his wife have a heart-to-heart, and, they James tells his wife Margaret, listen, hey, we have to prepare for the worst because our daughter's going to die. And she doesn't want to believe that and everything, and she's not going to do that. But the way James is speaking, he's like, I'll find a place. I'll find a good place where we can bury her, and we can always be there for her. So I feel like if the character of Elsa does die, which we know she does because she's not in later, scenes in Yellowstone flashbacks or anything like that, I feel like she's on the ranch and she's somewhere buried there, and so they can always visit her grave, or where all the Duttons are buried, or they're always buried on the ranch. But listen, this episode was really, really interesting, and near the end, Elsa basically narrates that she sees something in her father she's never seen before, mourning and remorse, and she realizes that she's going to die, but she doesn't know when. So this episode was really good and really, really well written. I did like it for what it is. And not only that, there was a different scene where I believe Colton, one of the young cowboys, a part of this wagon camp, shoots one of the immigrants because, she was in pain and, she didn't, it was all remorse and everything. And he just goes on and on, tries to bury her, but he's using a plate. And then Shay comes in and tells him, like, what you did, you had to do. So it's really interesting, and I believe this episode, like I said, was really, really well written. The pacing was good. We finally find out what happened to Elsa and what everyone's going through already. Each episode, the immigrants and this wagon camp are slowly dwindling it down. There's not much like there used to be in when they started out, and even Shay himself is saying, he's like, I'm getting too fucking old for this. I can't keep going on like this. We just have to get them to where they are. This way I can do what I want. And he's right. So, I mean, this was a fun episode. It was full of action. It was intense. And like I said, when I started watching this, I was like 30, 45 seconds in. I literally said as it started, I was like, okay, something needs to happen. And then just like that, something does happen. And once that thing happens with that rattlesnake, this starts a chain reaction of events in this episode that you really didn't believe to happen at all, especially with the 9th episode. Now, in February of 2022, Paramount Plus did announce more episodes of 1883. They did announce that there was a season 2. Now, we don't know if these more episodes are a continuation of season 1, but it's been said that season 1 only has 10 episodes. So next week is the season finale of 1883 with episode 10. And with episode, who knows could there be another episode after that? We don't know, but there's rumors that it could be continuing. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen if this ends with episode 10, the first season, and then season 2 starts off with, how it always does with this new episodes and everything. But I mean, it's kind of conflicting because they say there's a season 2. They say more episodes were ordered. There's different articles out there saying what's right, what's wrong with what 1883 is going to be. But I mean, I feel like this first season is going to be 10 episodes. It's nothing more than that. But I'm really interested to see what happens. And even now that knowing there's a season 2 or even more episodes have been ordered, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'll definitely do my review on episode 10, quote unquote, if it is the season finale or not. If it's not, then I'll keep continuing my review of this series. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about episode 9 of 1883 titled Racing Clouds. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? And did you finally like how we understood what happened to Elsa now since the beginning when that flashback happened in episode 1? And do you think that she's going to die? Of course, we probably know she's going to die. And where do you see each character going from here? Especially the characters of Shay and Thomas. Let me know in the comment section below about the questions I just asked. And I'll see you guys in the next review video. And be sure you tune in next week for my episode 10 season 1 finale review of 1883. And like I said, that could be the season finale or it could not be. More episodes have been ordered, so we will find out if it is. I'll see you guys in the next review video.